那在我们单元开始之前，我们有几个小小的 announcement。 那第一个 announcement 也就是有些听众会问我们该怎么样来支持我们继续制作 podcast。 那我们现在已经开放了一个连结，也就是呢希望能够支持我们的听众能够帮我们买杯咖啡，那支持我们的这个 podcast journey。 那这个连结也会放在我们 podcast 的内容，也会放在我们的粉专，也就是主管英文的粉专内。那第二件事情就是我们上个礼拜已经转换了一个平台，那在转换的过程之中，我们有些之前的讲义的连结都遗失，但现在已经所有都更新咯。那最后一个 announcement 也就是我们现在有新的 IG 咯。那今天这个 IG 呢，也就是如果你想要有更多很专业的沟通技巧啊，或专业的这种沟通的知识，那你就可以来到我们的 IG。 那我们的 IG handle 是 Pitch It to My Face。 那我们所有的连结都会在我们的 description box， 或者会在我们的主管英文的粉专内咯。 Alright, so let's get started with our podcast today. So what is good writing?英语的写作往往是对华人来讲是非常困难一件事情。那就算我们对考试的文法都不太陌生，但是在学习时期我们缺少写作的练习，导致很多人就算在写商业书信的时候还是很没有自信。那今天我们就来运用知名作家 Scott Adams 的写作技巧，来轻松写出好英文。Hello， 欢迎来到 Executive Plus 主管双语沟通力的 podcast。 我们希望带给大家最实用的沟通工具，包括了成功人士对全球市场的分享、职场英语的技能、跨文化沟通技巧与其他能帮助您成为出色领导者的工具。Hi, I'm Sherry, founder of Executive Plus. As a language trainer and certified coach, I've trained hundreds of managers from Fortune 500 companies such as Dior, Google, Deloitte, and Yahoo!And
I'm Nick, Director of Communication Strategy at Presentality. I've helped startups raise millions of US dollars in funding and train the executives of publicly listed companies to present on the global stage.
Welcome to the Executive Plus podcast,
where you can take your communication and language skills from good to great. Hey everyone, welcome back to another Executive Plus podcast episode.In today's episode, we're going to look at the writing tips and techniques of best-selling author and famed cartoonist Scott Adams. Over his career, he's developed over 9,000 comic strips and written several best-selling books, including my favorite, How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big.
那如果大家喜欢看漫画的人，我真的可以推荐大家可以直接到Dilbert.com 去看看I think he mostly wrote about lives as a professional, working professional, right?
Yeah, in his early days, he worked for companies like IBM as an engineer, and he actually took all the ridiculous corporate lessons and kind of the insanity of his boss and developed a long-running comic strip that even Elon Musk was quoted to say that his employees need to use common sense. And if anything in the company happens that could be made into a Dilbert cartoon, you probably shouldn't do that thing.
I see. And in a Dilbert, I think there is like a dog and a guy and his boss.
Yeah,
right?
And a cat.
And
Dogbert and Catbert. And Catbert is I think he's the head of HR, and he basically makes everyone's life hell.Right.
所以我觉得其实蛮有趣的，其实现在因为大家都在 pandemic， 很多人都是 working from home， 所以你可以到他的 comics 上面，你会看到现在的他的 comics 有非常多关于到了 Zoom meetings and working from home that these kind of, very humorous and a bit of satire, I would say. Yeah.
So we're not going to look at the Dilbert cartoon itself, but Scott Adams is a pretty prolific writer.And back in 2007, he wrote a blog post on everything that you need to know about business writing. And this business writing blog post has been quoted by New York Times bestselling author Tim Ferriss, among several other top authors, on the first thing they open when writing a book in order to remind them of the best rules of clear and concise writing.
因为我相信非常多的人在写作的时候，通常第一个想法都是 it has to be impressive, right? So 当你想到 impressive 的时候，你可能就会想到了很多I need to have more vocabulary, I need to have this like really crazy, very impressive way of writing things. But I think why the blog post was so popular was because it's just very simple.
In fact, Scott Adams breaks writing down into 3 basic rules. The first rule is what Sherry just said. Keep it simple. What can be said with 1 word should not be said with 3 words. The second rule is word choice matters. If you're going to keep your sentences simple, then choosing the right word is better than choosing multiple words. And the final rule is, in order to be persuasive, you need to keep your ideas short. People are not as smart as you think, according to Scott Adams. So shorter is better.
所以就是3个非常简单的 rule. Keep it simple. 第二个就是你要选字的时候要慎选，而且不要太贪心。那第3个也就是如果你要很有说服力，也就是 keep your sentence short.
Let's take a look at the first rule. Keep it simple. Scott Adams says, simple means getting rid of extra words. Don't write, he was very happy, when you can write, he was happy. Very doesn't add anything to your sentences. Shorten them. Very, really, definitely, these are all things that you can remove from your writing.
那我觉得好像我也会常犯这样子的错误诶我常常会写 definitely.
Easier said than done, but these are rules that we can always use in order to shorten our sentences. Anytime you go into editing mode, and I've had professors do this, the first thing that they start editing is all those additional very, really... And if you take them out, you would be shocked at how much shorter your paragraphs will become.
Right. And I like the second point, which is word choice matters. When it comes to word choice matter, it means that when you say it's very easy or it's really easy, you could simply say it's simple.
Earlier, you were talking about Taiwanese have this habit of studying all the grammar rules and all the vocabulary and the GRE. This is a place that you can start using your GRE words or really practice your vocabulary because there's a lot of words whose nuance is that modifier. So instead of saying, I was very tired, just say, I was exhausted. There's nothing wrong with I was very tired if you're trying to be quick and simple, but a better way to just practice the vocabulary is I was exhausted.
所以就跟中文很像，与其说我很累，你可以就讲说我非常疲惫。与其我们写2个字，我们可以直接用1个字就可以代表它这个意思。
So if you've been trying to work on your vocabulary, then this is the place to start doing it. Finding places in your own sentences where you used that very really, cut it out and find a better word that more concisely says what you want to do. A last example would be something like, it's super important to finish this on time. Becomes, it's crucial we finish this on time.
So basically you're taking out 2 to 3 words. Just like that, right? You make it really short, but straight to the point.
And it's crucial that we even carries more weight. It's an even stronger way to press upon someone how important this is. So this is a great place to switch out your vocabulary. Take these 2 rules together. Simple, remove very really, word choice. Pick the word that has the weight of what you're trying to say.
Right. And I actually remember 在大学的时候，通常在写报告的时候 professor 都会说你一定要 like 500 words 好了。So I started adding very, really. But of course, 到最后 professor 就会说干嘛要加这些很没有用的字，但是 that's kind of what I did at the time to kind of make sure that I reach 500 words, but it's not a good way Don't do that.
That, and as we get older, when you're back in high school or college, you feel you don't have as much to say, or maybe you're not as interested in the topic. But a lot of times, as we've all become professionals and experts, we have too much to say. You're like, I only have 500 words, or I only have 10 minutes for this presentation. How am I going to cut down everything that I do? Well, these are very good ways to just start immediately cutting down on the amount of time, because we use so many filler words. In writing, we use these very's, really's. In presentation, we have a tendency to say, oh, or And when we start to learn to cut out all these filler words, you would be shocked at how much time we save by removing these.
Right. Well, that leads us to the third point, which is being persuasive, right? 要讲很有说服力，要写有说服力的这种句子，也就是 keep it short.
The idea behind this, keeping your sentences short, is that we think and we write are two different paths. When we think in a continuum over, like one thought goes into the next thought, connected to the next thought, and so on. But if you write like that, it's very confusing. In fact, it comes across, we all know that person in our lives who tells a story and they like interweave 7 other thoughts into that one sentence. Be like, all right, so like I was walking down the hall, but okay, first I need to tell you, like our office has really complicated hallways. But I'm walking down the hall and suddenly Gary jumped. Well, Gary's kind of a prankster, and it's just like that thought ball of confusion. When you're writing, you just need to break it down to one idea, one sentence. Say what you want to say. And this also helps with that pruning again. Do I need all of these sentences in a paragraph? Because am I writing my thought process, or am I writing to inform someone or to persuade someone? And what you'll often find is that when people think and read at 2 different levels. So you don't write like you think, you write how you would expect someone to read it.
That's actually really interesting. 所以我们在思考的时候，如果我们照着我们思考的方式把它就这样写下来的话，其实对于读者来讲是一个非常 confusing 的一个事情 right? So you actually needed to write hoping that the other side would understand you right away. And I see a lot of this example in a lot of my classes where students trying to convey, let's say, 2 points in an email, but they ended up writing really long sentences because they felt like they have to give all the details in one single sentence. They just comma, right?
Yeah, and it's because that contradiction between like your email needs to be short and concise. It should only be like 2 sentences. And their first thought is, okay, it's going to be 2 really long sentences.
Right. 所以真的要很小心，就是在写英文的时候，写这个句子的时候，你可能会觉得说我有很多事情想要讲，但是我只能把它放在一个句子里面，所以你就把所有的东西就塞到这个句子，那其实这个句子会变成你根本就人家看不懂， so they will not be able to understand you if you make it super long. For one thing, keep it short because let's say someone else who is reading the email, maybe their mother language is not exactly English, right? So if you keep it short, it would be a lot easier for them to understand.
Yeah, there's less potential for confusion. There's less potential for misunderstanding because you may get an email that says, on the 5th of June, we're going to have a meeting, but because everyone wasn't sure about their meeting time, so we decided to move it around maybe the 6th of June or the 7th of June, but I think finally we're going to get to the 9th of June. That's a thought stream. But if you wrote that in a sentence, someone would have to read it like 4 or 5 times to understand what's going on.
Right.
Whereas if you broke it down and said, our final meeting date will be the 9th of June. Initially, it was this, but we had to move it because of these things. 2 different thoughts. First is the most important thought. What's the actual meeting change? This is a extreme example, but a lot of times if you go back and look at your writing, you'll find that are you writing the way you think, or are you writing to give people information?
Alright, 所以在今天的这个单元中，我们就 cover 了3个非常重要重点，也就是 keep it simple， 第2个就是你的 word choice， 还有第3个也就是 keep your sentence short.
We hope that you take these 3 writing tips and really look at the next piece of writing you make and try and cut it down. We'll talk to you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
如果你喜欢我们的 podcast， 欢迎来追踪我们的主管英文 Executive Plus 的 Facebook。那也可以写信到我们的信箱 yourcareerplus@gmail.com。